For us, it's very important. I think sometimes it's not about just scoring or assisting. I think he controls everything. He organizes the team. He decides when we press. He decides when we attack. And for us, it's very important. Every time we are under pressure, he gives us a chance to give him the ball. He never loses the ball, and I think he deserves this trophy because he played an amazing tournament. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I think since the first day, we are right.
This is the story of how one of the most decorated midfielders in the world spent a year being told he might never be the same player again, and how it took a World Cup final for his own teammate to say out loud what the doubters kept missing. Rodri won the 2026 World Cup Golden Ball. Here's everything that happened in between.
I think Pep Guardiola said the best Rodri we're going to see this season is in the World Cup. I had the same injury in my both knees. It takes time to come back because everything is new. You got to adapt. You got to bring back your movements. And he took those months in Premier League with City to get those movements. And in World Cup, he's showing who he is and why he won the Ballon d'Or. This is a Ballon d'Or winner.
Yeah.
Don't forget. So he's a player that doesn't get a lot of credit. Gets unseen, but he won Ballon d'Or, which is not normal for that position he plays in. So this is a high-level, world-class player. He gives confidence to the other ones. He makes the other players better. He puts things on fire, but he also puts water on fire. So this is a player every team needs.
September 22nd, 2024. Rodri went down in a challenge with Arsenal's Thomas Partey during a 2-2 draw, and the tests confirmed the worst version of the injury. A torn ACL, plus meniscus damage. At the time, Manchester City hadn't lost a single Premier League match in 52 games he'd started. Guardiola confirmed it himself days later. Unfortunately, Rodri got the worst outcome. He had surgery this morning, ACL and some meniscus. This season is over for Rodri. Next season, he will be here. A few weeks after that, Rodri collected the Ballon d'Or on crutches, having played only 3 games for City that season before the injury. There's a strange footnote to the timing. Just before he got hurt, Rodri had made headlines for a completely different reason, saying publicly that players were close to going on strike over the number of matches packed into a season. Then, almost immediately, he became the walking argument for his own point, not through a strike, through his body simply not being able to keep up with the schedule. This part matters because it's the clearest evidence of how much he actually did on the pitch, separate from any prediction or quote. City's season fell apart almost the moment he went down. They effectively surrendered the Premier League title before the calendar turned over, and by the end of the campaign, they lost the FA Cup final to Crystal Palace, finishing the season without a single trophy for the first time since 2017. Reporting at the time was blunt about why. It's arguable he was the only player in that City squad without a like-for-like replacement, given his tactical importance. That wasn't a doubter's opinion. That was just what happened to a team that had built its identity around him.
This wasn't just message board pessimism. Injury expert Ben Dinnery, speaking around the time of the original surgery, laid out exactly why recovery wasn't guaranteed. I'm presuming it's an ACL injury based on the action, which means you're typically looking at over 270 days for recovery, he said. What we've seen in recent times is that it's not usually until that 12 to 18-month period that we begin to see consistent levels of optimal performances every week. There's certainly no guarantee or given right that Rodri will ever return to those pre-injury levels. More than a year later, in October of 2025, Goal.com ran a piece that summed up where the conversation had landed. There are genuine fears that he will never be the same player again. Certainly not the resilient athlete who could play every match and practically guarantee that his team would win. The article put him next to Radamel Falcao, a player who never recovered his level after his own ACL tear and went on to struggle at Manchester United and Chelsea, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, whose knee problems forced him into retirement at 34. It did lay out the other side too. Eder Militao tore the ACL in each of his knees within 2 years and still returned to being a regular starter for Real Madrid and Brazil. His teammate Dani Carvajal came back from a triple knee injury and was fine as well. but the framing around Rodri specifically stayed cautious. His case was still genuinely in question.
Rodri came back in May 2025, 8 months after the original injury, off the bench against Bournemouth to a standing ovation from the Etihad crowd. At the time, he tried to manage expectations himself, saying at the Club World Cup a month later, "I feel very, very strong, to be honest. The process was long, but I was taking my time. The most important thing was to keep focused and be strong. Don't be sad or whatever. One day I'll come back, and this day has finally come, and I'm very excited to play again. I know it's still going to be months until I reach my level, but I'm so happy." Weeks after saying that, he had to be subbed off in extra time against Al Hilal with a fresh concern. By September, he was pulling himself out of a match against Burnley entirely, telling Guardiola directly, "I'm not able to play. I have a lot of pain in my knee. I cannot play." Guardiola's response was blunt. "I said if you cannot play, you cannot play. Another one is going to play."
That same October, while Rodri was being ruled out of matches and the fear pieces were being written, Guardiola kept repeating one line to anyone who'd listen. "I told Rodri that it's not a 6 or 7 month story," he said. "It's not I come back, I play, and I become the Rodri of before. No, the real Rodri, we'll see him at the 2026 World Cup with Spain, and from next season, he'll be at his best." It's worth sitting with how strange that is. The same manager who was publicly uncertain about whether Rodri would be fit for Aston Villa was in the same stretch making a confident prediction about a tournament 8 months away. And with Zubamendi covering for him through qualifying, that prediction had plenty of time to quietly not happen.
Rodri was restored to Spain's starting lineup once healthy, beginning with a 3-0 win over Serbia. By the final on July 19, 2026, the numbers told their own story. Rodri completed 756 successful passes across the tournament, the most of any player. He led the way in tackles attempted with 23 and tackles won with 18, and ranked 4th in the whole tournament in successful duels with 49. In the final itself, he completed 101 passes, one of only 3 times in World Cup final history since 1966 that a player has hit the century mark in that match alone. Spain beat Argentina 1-0, their second World Cup title, and Rodri was named the tournament's best player. He became the first Premier League player ever to win a World Cup Golden Ball.
Speaking to reporters in the mixed zone right after the final whistle, Rodri's Spain teammate Marc Cucurella didn't talk about goals or trophies first. He talked about exactly the thing the doubt had been circling for over a year. "For us, it's very important," Cucurella said. "I think sometimes it's not about just scoring or assisting. He controlled everything. He organized the team. He decides when we press. He decides when we attack." He kept going. "Every time we are under pressure, he gives us a chance to give him the ball. He never loses the ball. And I think he deserves this trophy because he played an amazing tournament." That's not a prediction. It's a verdict, delivered by someone who'd spent the tournament standing next to him. And it lands directly on the question Dinnery, Goal.com, and half of City's fanbase had spent over a year asking out loud. Would Rodri ever control a match the way he used to? Cucurella's answer, in real time, on the pitch, was that he never stopped. Rodri himself put the recovery in his own words afterward, and it's about as clear-eyed a description of what a serious injury actually costs as you'll hear from a professional athlete. "I've gone through a logical process that every football player has to go through after an injury like this," he said. "It takes a year to get back to your best fitness level, and then one more on top of that to feel like you're..."
Rodri's Manchester City future is still an open question, with his contract entering its final year and transfer talk already circling. And just in the last day, reports surfaced that he's set to undergo a minor back procedure, one that was reportedly scheduled before the World Cup even started and isn't expected to affect his preseason. It's a reminder that none of this is fully behind him, and that the story of Rodri's body versus Rodri's talent isn't actually finished. But for one night in July, the version of Rodri that an injury expert once said might never come back showed up anyway.
It took his own teammate, standing next to him in the mixed zone, to say it plainest.